A faint fluorescent hum filled the room. "We're going to be talking about fractional dimension and fractals today." The youthful voice of my professor smiled at the class. All the students brightened, their interest clearer than a room filled with carbon monoxide, though the mask of interest was quickly slipping on one in particular. Me. I still don't really understand quaternions, so how the hell am I supposed to understand fractional dimensions? I quaked internally behind my aviators. My fear must have been palpable because my professor in all his wisdom addressed the class, and I'm sure this was for my benefit. "For those of you who are a touch worried, please don't be. We can watch this 3 blue 1 brown video and pause whenever anyone has a question." My fears were almost assuaged. But then I remembered something vitally important. The class was filled with veritable geniuses, and I was too afraid to ask what could be considered a dumb question. As the lecture progressed, so did my regret for not having worn brown pants. With the explanation set so deeply within the minds of these savants, and that same explanation at my feet having bounced off the smoothness of my brain, I now felt the inane compulsion that I had to prove myself and my soiled pants. From 3 blue 1 brown's beautiful video, I had the faintest of inklings of what to do. I needed to use a grid to measure a picture. With that idea percolating, I swapped my brain to match my programming identity. To construct something of this magnitude, I'm going to want graphics. My brain was running at 99% CPU usage. Due to my programming brain using a modified 6502 like the Atari 2600, I had to resort to using the most explicit language I could think of. C. I could see Fortune smiling in my direction. I had just finished the most complex parts of my game engine, and due to that delusionally assumed luck was beaming at me. But unfortunately, as they say, luck is blind. Before chronicling the follies of my hubris, I first need to explain what an entity component system is. I shall let my programming me explain my dim understanding of the complexities of this architectural pattern. We will be using an example to keep things simple. For this example, humans are entities, and components are the clothes that we wear. Now let's say we have a dresser. If we put an outfit together and place each outfit in its own drawer, we can swap through all the outfits very fast. Just open a drawer and change into that outfit. That, in essence, is what an entity component system is, or at least how I understand it. The code will group data together to be quickly referenced. Just open a drawer and we can quickly swap what outfit we want for what day. While an entity component system is fairly easy to write, using it is something I'd yet to play around with a lot. So, programming me plunged into the code a bit daunted, but nonetheless determined. I copied my current game project I was working on and stripped everything but the boilerplate. Before long, I'd created an outline that appeased my finicky sense of aesthetics. It became time to work on the GUI of the project. I knew that there would have to be 2 different grid sizes with matching buttons to control them, and in all the glory of my artistic skills, I shamelessly got a sprite sheet from itch.io for buttons and a font. It is linked below. The example on the website looked so good. I knew that there would be no possible way I could make this look bad. Around the time of self-loathing due to the garbage that was my UI, I decided to make myself feel better by checking for any errors when running. My code is flawless. I am a god when it comes to writing error-free code. There were more than 200 errors, and this is when I decided it was a good time to sleep. I'd pick the project back up the next day. There were absolutely no tears shed that night. The next day, I got a grid rendering in the background, which caused the phantom of anxiety to strangle me. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to turn this into a video after all. Then I realized the crux of my issues. I wasn't wearing programming socks. With thigh highs on and a new determination coursing through my caffeinated veins, I then ran into my next issue. I found out that my flawless entity component system was in fact flawed. It wouldn't be for long. 5 to 9-ish hours later, and my entity component system was again flawless. With the GUI now in a good state and my game engine working perfectly, I decided it was time to work on a camera. There was a brief issue with the camera not stopping after a button was released, but that was quickly sorted. The next and final part of the camera was zooming. Zooming is easy. Zooming and then centering a camera is easy. Zooming based on a point gave me a taste of insanity. I had fairly recently chatted with my Discord community about camera zooming, and Warrior Alex 1 had gone into depth about how they solved this problem for themselves. It would have been really nice had I remembered that, but insanity had already taken root, and I was thriving on caffeine in a dream. Eventually, like all good programmers, I called not being able to zoom on a point a feature and shifted gears to the core of the project, the grid and checking collision of an image within the grid cells. Rendering the image was really fast. I could quickly load an image, and then that was all that was needed. The groove had taken back over my body. I was dialed in, cooking, and time dilating like that scene in Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog where Neil Patrick Harris builds the Death Ray. The grid came along almost as easily. I knew I would beat Captain Hammer this time. Next would be the part I knew from the start was going to be the trickiest, getting pixel data from an SDL texture. Basically, I wanted to know if there was any pixel that showed up within a grid cell. Transparent pixels wouldn't count. I realized after scouring the internet and SDL documentation that SDL doesn't actually have that functionality. At least, I couldn't find anything about getting pixel data. You can set it, though. If depression were a person, it would have been me. The amazing thing about C is that some libraries like SDL and Zephyr have really good documentation. And other libraries like libpng and gdbus have terrible documentation, at least in my opinion. I started looking into libpng because it sounded like it was a library that worked with PNGs, which in fact it was. The only issue was that it was complex as crap, and after like 30 minutes to an hour, I realized there was no good example to reference. So I tried SPNG. The library is literally titled Simple PNG Library. It was so simple that it only ate up 40% of my sanity instead of the 60% libpng was going to take. The fun part is SPNG has relatively decent documentation, but it doesn't explain what data types go into the functions. So I just wanted an array of pixels, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. It was like if I went to the fruit store to get a banana, but the store's lights are out, and there is no map for fruit sections, and I have rabid dogs chasing me through the aisles. All in all, I'd say it leaned towards the better side of C library documentation. I got a testing project working with reading in my PNG with SPNG, and was able to check the pixels for if they were transparent. I yoinked that to my project and it worked pretty much out of the box. I did have to tweak the code a touch, but all in all, SPNG really was fairly simple. Though around this time, instead of segfaulting like normal, the program now wouldn't end, and I was basically at the deadline to turn it in. So instead of cleaning it up and fixing the segfault and the running forever, I decided to ignore all the features and implement a state system. Basically, it counts the number of boxes touched with the first scale, and then the number touched at the second scale. After that, a simple GUI pop-up to say the number of boxes touched and to get the fractional dimension. I had finally finished the project, and to be honest, it felt a lot worse than I thought it would, probably due to all the features, and since then have refused to touch the code. On that note, I'll have CoolMe do the outro.
Thank you for watching this video. It has been months since I wrote this script, and since then a lot of things in my life have changed. I'm still trying to figure out what direction to take this channel, so the next few videos will probably be tutorials or guides on using Godot, as I've been making a game in that engine. I still plan on working on game engine videos, but those might be a while out, as I still am not sure what the best way to approach those is. And the Godot video should be a lot quicker to produce. I have links for Matrix and Discord in the description if you want to talk about programming or would like help with programming related things. Take care. And stay beautiful.